So let's get into what a subject to is and how to break it down, right? So when dealing with the subject to purchase, there are a lot of factors that need to be taken into consideration. The note balance, note established, interest rate, term, equity, taxes, and insurance. Now when we're dealing with the subject to, there are two different numbers that come when it comes to the note, right? There's the current note balance and then there is the note established. So what was the balance when the note was established? Kind of confusing, right? But they're two different things, right? So the note established is when they bought the property, what was the interest rate, term, and payment that they had when they got the note. So if they got the note a year ago at $100,000, their note is based from a year ago at $100,000. And let's say they owe $99,000 right now, that is considered their note balance. So they're two different numbers. Now, given that we asked the right questions, this is how an equation would look if we asked the right questions, right? Note established, and usually it comes off like, hey, how much did you buy the property for? Well, I bought it for $211,000. Hey, do you remember what the interest rate was on it? 4.3%. How long have you had it roughly? 20 months. Okay. What are the taxes and insurance on the property, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, it's about $600 a month. 500 taxes, 100 insurance. How much equity do you have on the property? They might not know. But if we have a 10b2 calculator, we can pull all that information. We know that at the end of 20 months, they have a note balance of $205,000. Okay, $15,000 of equity, more or less, if we know that the ARV is for $220. So the principal and interest payment is going to be $1,044.18, and then total monthly holding cost, because remember, when you're purchasing the property subject to, you're going to have to pay for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So we have to have all of that accounted for when we're making an offer and when we're picking up a property subject to an existing mortgage, right? So how do we present a deal to them where they will make more money with us buying sub 2 as opposed to listing with an agent? And this scenario is prominent right now, especially with all these deals that are sitting on the market because they bought them a year or two ago and they have zero to low equity. This right here, what we're about to go into, is the formula where you can make a ton of money right now in this game because of the types of deals that are on the market right now. So if this one has an ARV of $220,000 with an average day on market of 60 days plus 30 days to close, meaning they're going to have to hold on to it for 90 days. Closing cost is about 8%, 6% listing, 2% title. Goes up or down depending where you are. Total closing costs are going to be $17,600. Now, holding cost until closing is $4,932. And the reason I got that is 3 times 1644.18 is that number. So total cost from now until close on the traditional sale is $22,532. It is important to note that the holding costs will not reflect when they sell their home, but rather it's a cost that they're going to have to come out of their pocket with until the time of closing. So even though it is not part of the closing cost that we're going to break down, we want to say with the average days on market, you're going to have to pay another $5,000 to hold this property. Is that something you're aware of, right? We want to add them as many numbers as possible to make it look like they're going to lose more money. Not even make it look, to show the reality of how much money they're actually going to lose by holding on to these things. Now that we know that they're going to have to write a check for $17,600 at the time of closing, what is their true net at the end of the deal? Remember, $17,600 because closing cost of 8% at $220,000 is $17,600. So sales price is $220,000, closing cost is $17,600, note balance is $205,000, cash at closing, this is the kicker. Cash at closing $202,400, net income at the time of closing minus $2,600. Hey, Mr. Settler, you're gonna have to write a check of $2,600 in order to close on this property. Is that something you're aware of? Now you see how powerful this is. And wherever you are, you can plug and play ARV, average closing cost, total closing cost, holding costs, equity. If you're in wherever area you're in, get the note established, get the interest rate, get the note balance, and then after that, get the ARV and determine where they are. So it's note balance. Actually, the way I do it is this. Note equity, or it's note balance, minus ARV. So it's going to be ARV of 100,000, note balance 20,000. It's going to be the equity. Equity minus closing cost is going to be the net to seller. So whatever the net to seller is, if we can make them more money, we're about to get into how the sales pitch is going to go. In this scenario, we're giving them the realization that they're going to have to write a check to close the deal. By this point, they should be in shock with how much money they're going to have to walk away with, which is literally negative money. They don't even have enough money to get it for free. They're going to have to write a check giving negative money. So this is the time that you ask for permission to show them a better way. I typically use a sales pitch of, if I can show you a better way where you can make more money in your pocket and close within a month, would you consider hearing that option? When they say yes, this is where we have the leverage in the transaction. How would I use these numbers broken down? I will give you $10,000 cash to close. I will cover all of the closing costs. I can close within 7 days of clean title because you want to make sure title comes back clean. And I will buy the home as is. At this time, they'll ask a couple different questions of how it's going to be done. And then this is where you mention it's a subject to transaction. So you don't say, I'll be purchasing your property subject to. You would say, I can give you $10,000 cash to close. I'll cover all closing costs. I'll cover all expenses. We can close in 7 days and I will buy the property as is. You don't even have to move a finger. Then they're going to ask, how is that done? And then you tell them, well, it's a subject to transaction. So we're purchasing a property subject to an existing mortgage. And then these are the key points. The title of the home will be transferred, but the mortgage will stay in place. There will be a third-party servicing company that's going to handle all of the payments. So you don't have to worry. The money's not going to me. The money's going to a third-party servicing company. And by going through a third-party servicing company, 75% of your DTI is going to be knocked off day one. So that's your debt-to-income ratio to go be able to purchase another property. 100% will be knocked off after 12 months. So after 12 months of having this property serviced by a third-party servicing company, it will not reflect as a debt against your name. Now, if I were to default on this, you have the right to take the property back. On top of that, this is how I make my living, and I will take care of the responsibility of making sure I make my payments on time. They will actually able, and then to top it all off, you will actually be able to walk away with cash as opposed to having to write a check at closing. So that, once again, go through it again. The title of the home will be transferred, but the mortgage will stay in place. There'll be a third-party servicing company that's going to handle all of the payments. 75% of your DTI is going to be taken care of month 1, and at the end of month 12, 100% of your DTI is going to be taken care of. The best part is, if I default for whatever reason, you can go ahead and take the property back and get all the equity that I created on this. But this is how I make my living. So me as an investor, I will make sure that I make the payments on time, and I will make sure that your credit is going to be going up. The more I make payments on time, the better your credit's going to get. And at the end of the day, you're actually going to be able to walk away with cash in your pocket. How does that sound? That is more or less the sales pitch, right? So these are really the key components when dealing with the subject to. Remember, at this point, if you have never dealt with one, you want to handle as many objections as possible. The more objections they can give you, the better it is. Because if they give you 5 different objections and you're able to handle all 5 objections, it shows them that you're the person that has the confidence in order to put these deals under the transaction and to be able to make payments on a timely basis. Very, 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 very important. Have the confidence, have the tonality, have the posture, have the education, and educate them. Educate them that this is the best way, because they're going to have to write a check. If they don't go through you, they're going to have to write a check at closing. So let them know they're going to have to write a check, but you can give them $5,000 to $10,000 cash and close within a month. So I'm saving you $22,000 plus I'm making you $10,000. So I'm really giving you like $32,000 in your pocket if you think about it, right? So that's pretty much it. That really is an in-depth explanation of what a subject to property is. Now we have all that information, and you say, why would I buy a property that has no equity? Well, let's get into the resale of how I personally like to resell these subject to transactions via owner finance. Because when we do via owner finance, we can mark up the price a little bit as long as we finance the amount of the ARV for the market. So I'll see you in the next chapter.